Hello, 48ers. Welcome to this very special interview with our creator and executive producer, Mark Ruppert. My name is Indra. I am one of the people that work at headquarters for the 48 Hour Film Project. And I am very happy to have you all with us tonight or today or this morning. It depends on where you are in the world. So, Mark, we're going to go into a lot more details on where the 48 came from and how you came up with the idea and all of that type of stuff. But tell us, what was your very first 48 film that you did?
Well, I've actually only ever done one film, and it was in the very first 48 back in May of 2001 in Washington, D.C. And our film was entitled Black Monday. It was a film noir shot in an old offices in a warehouse building. And essentially, you had the femme fatale show up and double cross the detective like any good film noir. It included a shootout scene where we had the two dueling gangs were literally 10 feet away shooting at each other, and somehow they all missed each other. So that was part of the film. The interesting part of that shoot was we had a fight scene that we shot out on a roof, but it was the roof of a restaurant. So the patrons called the cops, and so we almost got in trouble, but we did survive. So Black Monday, if anybody can find that, that's the one of the very first and my first 48-hour film.
That sounds like a really great thing that I really want to watch. And having the cops call you on the first weekend, that's something. That's something. So you made this film, but before you actually started making it, there must have been this idea of the 48 somewhere. How did that came to be?
So I read an article about two women in New York who started one of the first 24-hour theater competitions. And for that, you had to write, rehearse, and perform all within 24 hours. And I immediately thought this was really cool. I thought, hey, I wonder if we could do this on video. And if we could, we need more time. So that's where the 48-hour time frame came from. That was in 1998. And I was busy with other films, other projects, and so we didn't actually do the first 48-hour film project until 2001, but it turned out that it was impossible to do it before 2001 because not enough people had access to computer editing. And also the prices of cameras had dropped significantly by the time 2001 came along. So it was a lot of forces all coming together at the same time that lined up to make this possible. In that very first 48, there was no entry fee, there were no judges. It was just a competition to see if it was even possible to make a 48-hour film. I reached out to two or three filmmaking friends of mine. We got together at a pizza restaurant and I pitched them the idea. If you get a team together, I'll get a team together and we'll see if we can do this. They were amenable to it. And as word spread, we got a mutual friend who was a theater manager told us that if we did it, she would screen them. So once word got out around town, then we ended up with 10 teams that very
Oh,
first year.
nice.
What's also interesting is there was no maximum time limit. You could make these films as long as you wanted to. And in fact, the average length was about 11 minutes. And the best film of the entire weekend was 16 minutes long and edited deck to deck. It was not edited on a computer. It was edited the old-fashioned way. So it was
Oh,
very impressive.
hmm,
And it was a classic story of a 48-hour film shoot gone wrong. So
nice.
that trope has been with us from the very beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. That is so cool. And this screening, when did that happen in regards to the weekend?
So we had the drop off as it is today at 7:30 p.m., but the screening started 8:30 that same night. And so we just in those days you submitted on tape and we had several different decks. We had a beta deck, we had a mini DV deck, and we probably had a VHS deck, and we just popped in a tape, showed a film, popped in the next tape, showed the film. So that's how it was done. Um, from the very get-go, people had a great time during the weekend. They had a great time at the screenings, and we knew that we wanted to do it again. And so that was the very successful first run.
I can hardly imagine now screening these things an hour after drop off. Like you can't even imagine. So for the first part, we're doing this a little bit in three parts. The first part is going to dive into a little bit of the past, a little bit of the present, and a little bit of the future. Now, for all you watching out there, I have my cheat sheet over there, so I'm not ignoring you. I'm just using my cheat sheet. Okay. I think what will be interesting to know is, what do you remember from the very first weekend that really captures the spirit of what the 48 is now, or still is?
Well, some interesting things are, number one, the character prop and line and the genre. Those have been with us since the very first day. Those were exactly that. We did the character prop and line slightly different, where there were multiple options and they were drawn out of a hat. We soon realized thereafter that we didn't need to have multiple options. Just having one option was perfectly fine. In terms of our shoot, it wasn't a very big team. I'd say we maybe had maximum of a dozen people. Um, I had a female cinematographer, I remember. Um, what was interesting is that Christina, my sister, was on the team, and then Liz Langston, who became the co-founder of the 48, was also on the team. So we were together on that very first 48-hour shoot. I do remember something on Sunday well, two things I remember. With the writing, we made the classic mistake of too many people on Friday night. And so we had a zillion brainstormed ideas, and midnight when we kicked everybody out, we still did not have a script, an idea we were happy with. And I think we started rewriting everything at 1 a.m. So that was my big takeaway, is don't have too many people on Friday.
Hmm.
And then Sunday came along and we're editing. And you have to remember, I'm the person who invented the entire element requirement, and we realized at 4 p.m. we did not have the line of dialogue in our film.
Oh
So,
no.
the musician was still working on the music, and so they worked it into the song, and that's how we got the line of dialogue in. So,
That's
um,
amazing.
yeah,
I want to bet that still happens at least a few times a year with people. They're like, oh, we'll put it in a song. I love that. So
probably,
there must have been a
probably.
moment where you were doing this and you realized this could be something that more people can do. Like, how do we grow this? When did that kind of hit you?
Well, we immediately knew we wanted to do it again in Washington, and so 4 or 5 months later in October, we came back and did a second 48 competition. We had about the same number of teams, 10 or 11 teams. Had the screening at the same location. I can't remember. We might have added a day between the drop off and the screening. But um, we may have set a maximum length of 11 minutes on the films. But
Yes.
other than that, it was generally the same. I was not part of a team. I was nominally an executive producer on the film that our team did, but really I was the one running the competition. And so then that again was a big success, and people were clamoring for more. So the very next May, we did the DC 48 for the third time. And during that process, I met a woman named Beth Lewandowski, who had just moved to DC from Atlanta. And she said, hey, I think this would be a big hit in Atlanta. Um, can we do it there? And so I spoke to Liz, and she and I thought that would be a fun thing to do. And so we actually went down to Atlanta. We were the city producers of Atlanta, and we ran it, and it was a big hit down there. We had 22 film teams, and they set a record that very few cities have ever matched, which is every single team was on time for that
Wow,
one.
that's
And
impressive.
so, and we had the screenings, and those were sold out, and it was very exciting. And based on the success of DC, the success of Atlanta, we then said, hey, let's do this in a few more cities. And so we either places that we knew we had to be, like New York and LA, or places where we had some kind of connection, Austin and Philadelphia. Those, along with Atlanta and DC, made up our first six cities in 2002.
Nice. And which one was the first international city?
First international, I believe, was London in 2005.
Very nice. And then, I mean, by now we're in, I think this year we did 123, which is an incredible number, and we're growing it even more next year. So at some point, Filmapalooza started happening. Can you tell us a little bit about the origins of that?
Well, we knew we wanted to, so in the second year, 2002, then we added the whole registration fee as well as the judges element to it. So now in our six cities, we had a city winner for each of those cities. And so then we said, hey, why not do a screening and award ceremony? So we set that up. It's a one evening thing, so not a 4-day festival as it is today, and at a small theater in DC. And we had teams come in. I should say we had the teams attempt to come in from all six cities. But that same night of our screening, we got a foot of snow in DC. So the Atlanta team made it, the Philly team made it, the New York team didn't make it, for
Oh,
example. And so that was a fun time. And then the Atlanta team was our first grand champion. So the very next year, we were able to partner with South by Southwest. And so that's where Filmapalooza was held. We had we were up to 18 or so film cities. And so we were able to have a single screening at South by Southwest, and we announced our awards there. And that began a model where we would partner with film festivals. So we held Filmapalooza at CineQuest, which is the San Jose Film Festival. We did that 3 times. We did the Miami International Film Festival twice. We did the Taos Short Film Festival once. So that was how we did that for a number of years. Once we had grown to 2 screenings, which was in 2004, then South by Southwest couldn't accommodate us any
right.
longer, and that's when we started going to other places.
And by now we're at a 4-day film festival, filmmaking conference with screenings, and I think we're up to what, 11 screenings or something, workshops and the lot. So it's really grown with the 48 over the past 25 years. Super
Yeah.
cool. So that's kind of where it came from, where it started, how it came to be where we are now. Like we said, we were at 123 cities roundabout. How do you think the role of the 48 has changed filmmakers now in comparison to way back when, so to speak?
I'm not sure that there is any big change. The participants have always gotten the benefit of number one, motivation, right? So I was in the same trap when I did the 48, is that I had been thinking about making another short film, and I didn't have the script finished. I didn't have XYZ. And so the 48 throws all those excuses out the window. So it gets down to the pure essence of filmmaking, the creativity, right? And as everybody knows, you don't have time to second guess yourself, so you just make decisions and you keep on going. So from that aspect, I'm not sure that too much has changed for people. Over the years, a lot of filmmakers have, the 48 has meant a lot of different things to different filmmakers. For some people, they joined the 48 because their friend asked them to be on a team, and then all of a sudden they were bitten by the bug and they then entered the film industry.
Yep.
So other people have done it to just get better. Other people have done it. If they were already professionals, they might do it to test new ideas or new equipment, that type of thing. So um, the 48's been a springboard for a lot of people over the years to get into the industry.
I can completely and utterly attest to that one. So, in terms of, you mentioned the community, uh, what is the 48 community? What makes it so special and maybe even different from other film competitions or challenges that exist in the world?
I think one of the big things is that every filmmaker who participates in the 48 has gone through essentially the same process. They only have 48 hours to make a short film. So where if you go to another film festival without those kind of requirements, you know, I may have made mine in 4 weeks for $1,000, and I'm right next to somebody who took 4 years and $100,000. So um, the 48 kind of levels the playing field. And the filmmakers have us both locally and at Filmapalooza have this sense of we're all in this together. You know, what genre are you going to get? Oh my God, I got this genre, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, they have to deal with the same character, prop, and line. So
That's right. Yeah, I think the whole everybody plays the same game creates an instant bond, and you see that it not only the local level but especially the Filmapalooza as well. People from all sides of the world, and I'm sure that you guys watching that have been to Filmapalooza can totally understand what we're on about here. So obviously, you mentioned the tapes from way back when. We're way past that. Uh, what are some very new techniques that you couldn't even dream of 20 years ago that people are using now, and how has that changed the 48 as a being?
oh, there's so many changes. One of the big ones is the fact of being able to upload your films for submission.
Right.
Um, so for those of you who are just more recent participants in the 48, prior to 2020, there was a physical drop off. You had to bring in the first few years, the actual tape. Then that became bringing in the DVD. And then that became bringing in the thumb drive or the flash drive. And so, and it also, you know, very strict deadlines. So people would be rushing to get to the drop-off location. I'll never forget the story in St. Louis where the whole crowd is doing the countdown from 10, 9, 8. And as the countdown's going, the door is closing. And just as they get to one, an envelope comes flying through the door and just made it on time. The envelope had
Oh,
the film in it, et cetera, et cetera. So it was a lot of exciting drama
mm,
because of the in-person drop-off, but it also made things more difficult for the filmmakers and more difficult for us to process. So um, coming out of COVID, we created the online drop-off. Um, let's see, so that's one of the biggest changes technically. Another technological improvement or something that technology really changed over the course is, you know, recording digitally. So in the old days, when you recorded a tape, you then had to digitize, which was an extra step to get it into your computer to then be able to edit it. And then you had to export it back to tape. So this added time. So a lot of the processes have been streamlined over the years because of the more modern technology. Uh, when we think about more recently, then you've got the whole AI thing. And so there are different levels of AI. So what our teams are permitted to use is kind of the AI within an editing program, right? So if I want to remove this painting from my shot, I can do that. That's perfectly permissible. What we do restrict currently is any kind of generative AI. You cannot create a character that is in your primary footage that's just created by AI. AI is tricky and controversial and still new, even though it's been around for over 2 years. And so we're just monitoring that and trying to keep a level playing field. Um, Speaking of that, if we go back to the first few years, for example, we had a requirement of a maximum of 2 cameras per team, because we had envisioned that if a team had enough resources to have so many more cameras, were they getting an unfair advantage over other teams? So about 10 years into the project, we eliminated that rule. But that's one of the things of trying to keep a very even playing field for everybody.
I think that's much appreciated by filmmakers as well, because yes, it's a competition, but you want, yeah, like you said, that even playing field. So now let's take a look at the next 25 years, if that's at all possible. So what's the big vision?
Well, the number one thing is we're just waiting for the day that we have a Oscar-winning filmmaker, right? And we've already had our filmmakers on Oscar-winning teams. We had a cinematographer, I think he was first cameraman or second cameraman on the Oscar winner Coda a number of years ago. We've already had a Camera d'Or winner at the Cannes Film Festival, and the Camera d'Or goes to the best first feature director. And so we already have a lot of awards under our belt, but I'm fully expecting it's only a matter of time for a Golden Globe or a Academy Award to go to a 48-hour filmmaker. So that's always exciting. What's also exciting is seeing where our 48-hour filmmakers go, where they end up. Had a lot of people. We've had a handful of people who were already famous and who made 48-hour films, like Martin Freeman and J.K. Simmons. But we've also had people who've gone on and then become famous. So it's fun to see who might be next for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in terms of growing the actual presence of the competition, what would your dream location be where we're not just yet where you really want to be?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, we are adding Bangkok and Gothenburg in Sweden this year.
Mhm.
So we are continuing to expand. We've got a couple of US cities that are joining us as well. The dream location where we've never been. I don't know. I'd
I
have
mean,
to
it should
what
be Antarctica, no? Because then we'll have all 6 continents.
sounds reasonable. Sounds reasonable. Why not?
Bit
I
cold,
mean,
maybe. Okay.
there's a lot more we can do in Africa and in Asia. We've certainly have had quite a few cities in those continents over the years, but we can always do more. One of the things that I'm proud of the 48 is that and this is really represented at Filmapalooza, it's a way of bringing the world together. And in these times when so many things kind of push us apart, it's nice to be a force for inclusion and connection and that type of thing. So um, I guess that would be my main hope for the 48-hour film project for the next 25 years, that we're able to continue to do that.
I love that, and I'm sure we will, because we have so many beautiful people in our community of every imaginable shape, size, place, whatever. And I think the diversity there is just really, really beautiful. Now, in your expansive career as a filmmaker, as an executive producer for the 48, what would your biggest piece of advice be for current filmmakers, for future filmmakers, for 48ers in general?
The number one advice is to do it, right? Is to follow your passion and keep after it. Persistence is usually the number one difference maker of being a success or not being a success. If you have something you love, whatever that is, then just keep following your dream, keep taking the steps to make it happen, and you will achieve success on some level.
Perfect. That's really, really great. Final question, more from a personal point of view, I guess. So when people look back on the 48-hour film project 25 years from now, what would you hope they would say that it did for filmmakers and film culture? Deep.
Sure. Well, I hope that the legacy that the 48-hour film project leaves is one of, as I said before, inclusion, and a one of support of the filmmakers, and a one of motivating filmmakers, right? I mean, that's what it's all about. It's getting the filmmaker off of the couch and behind the camera or in front of the camera, and stopping the talking and starting the doing, to get out there. Because whether your 48-hour film is a masterpiece or it's just the springboard to your masterpiece, it's all about getting out there and doing it.
I think those are perfect words to end on. Thank you so much, Mark, for taking the time to chat with me. And thank you, everybody, for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and have a little bit more insight in where this amazing thing came from. Well, I can tell you it came from that brain over there. And we are all eternally grateful for you, Mark, giving this to all of us over the world. Thank you all very much. Goodbye.
Bye bye.